Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm Mary Beth Woodward, and I work at the Center for Career Development and Academic Exploration. Thanks for being with us here this afternoon. And today I have Ruby and David from KPMG with us, and they're going to tell us all about KPMG and their career opportunities. So tune in to learn a little bit more. So first of all, David and Ruby, thanks for being here. Do you want to just introduce yourselves? Tell us a little bit about yourselves and your background.
Yeah, I can kick off. My name is Ruby Hancock, and I'm an audit partner in the Memphis, Tennessee office. I'm actually a UT grad, both for undergrad and graduate school. So grew up in East Tennessee, started my career in Nashville, and then met my husband that brought us to the Memphis area about 14 years ago. And so with that being said, happy to be here with you guys and to teach you a little bit more about what KPMG has to offer.
Great, David.
Hey, my name's David Schreiber. I'm a senior manager in our business tax services group in the Nashville office. I'm not personally a UT alum. I moved to Nashville from Oregon about 4 years ago, but UT's been my home away from home for recruiting since I've moved.
Awesome. Well, thank you. So Ruby, I have kind of a multi-part question for you. Just tell me a little bit about KPMG. Tell me a little bit about what you all do and more about where you're located. Just give me the rundown on your company.
KPMG is what I would classify as a professional service firm. So the three main pillars of what we can provide to large companies and even some individuals is audit, external audit, advisory, which can range anywhere from consulting all the way to, serving as co-sourcing with our clients, and then also tax, and that is both tax structuring, tax compliance. And so those are the three main pillars. And so as we recruit into the firm, typically one of those paths is chosen from a recruiting standpoint. Where are we? KPMG is an international firm. So we're across the globe, obviously more concentrated in some areas than others. Our US footprint is New York is our headquarters, and we are separated into what we consider East and West. And so in most major cities, you'll have a KPMG office of some size. In some of the smaller, what I would call satellite offices, one of the practices will be more predominant than the others, but they usually have all three of the different practices being audit, tax, and advisory in each office.
Wow, so across the US and globally.
Yeah, and we actually have our internship program actually has, and it's just for a select few, a rotation that you can do international for your internship. So that is something that we try to give to our recruits as well, because we know a lot of people want to travel internationally.
Definitely. Yeah. Maybe right now they can't, but definitely.
Yes. Yeah, hopefully in 2021.
Yes, definitely a big interest of a lot of students. Absolutely. So David, let me ask you a little bit about this. What kind of experiences would make a candidate a good fit at KPMG? Is there anything that might make a candidate's resume stand out?
Yeah, one thing that we definitely notice in looking at resumes is any type of leadership experience. Accounting is not just going to be making journal entries or kind of being alone in front of your computer. So anything that shows that leadership and that teaming with others is really valuable. Even if you're not starting in a leadership role on day one, you're in one of those roles very quickly as a senior associate or as a manager within a couple of years. So we're not just hiring for that day one position, we're looking for a good fit a few years down the road as well.
Yeah. What are some examples of like leadership types of roles that you think you've seen people have that you think are great fits?
Yeah, I mean, anything kind of working with other people, and it doesn't have to be just the traditional, I was president of this club. Right? You can get that type of experience as a leader on sports teams, as a leader in community service activities. So really kind of anything that shows that more holistic approach. Obviously a strong GPA and strong accounting grades are important, but that's almost kind of going to be there, like a prereq even. So anything on top of that is what really is going to catch people's attention.
Great. And now, David and Ruby, you were both accounting majors?
Yes.
Yes.
I was. Yep.
Does KPMG hire outside of accounting roles, or is that mainly what you look for?
Typically, probably our vast majority is going to be accounting roles. We do have what we would call our back office that, does all of our scheduling and does more, running the business behind the scenes. But typically that's not necessarily college, direct college hires. So
sure. Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about your company culture. Why do you like working for KPMG?
So actually culture is something that we've internally, we've spent a lot of time like rebranding, I should say. It's always been there. Just to kind of remind our employees that that's kind of the pillar stone of what we do and how we operate. And so with that being said, the culture at KPMG, it's all about the people. We'll tell you that there's a lot of things that most Big Four firms will do regardless because it's required by the standards. But the culture and the way we operate internally is why people stay with this company and why people love to work for KPMG. And so it's a culture of acceptance. It's a culture of diversity. We do the right thing the first time. And so it's just really an open, transparent culture that will allow everyone to kind of have a place at the table and kind of show their skills. So really that's, to me, one of our biggest assets is the culture and the people that we have here at KPMG.
Ruby or David, either one of you can answer this. Just to follow up on that, you mentioned that you're a Big Four accounting firm. So let's say that I'm a first or second year student thinking about majoring in accounting, but I'm not really sure about what that means. What does it mean to be a Big Four accounting firm? What does that mean?
David, do you want to take that one? You want me to?
Yeah, I'll kick it off. I know when we say Big Four, I think that is because they're the biggest four professional service accounting firms in the world. And that's kind of where that definition comes from. What I think about as far as what that means to students is there are offices in almost every city or every major city. And some of those offices, especially in New York or Atlanta or Chicago, are going to be very large. I mean, hundreds of people in each group. So you have that on the Big Four side. And then, as Ruby mentioned, though, there are kind of smaller offices, mid-market or satellite offices, where even though you are Big Four, right, in Nashville, we have about 100 people total across all the practices. So it can mean we're the biggest in the world, but it might just mean that we're kind of everywhere, but not necessarily the biggest office locally.
Sure.
Yeah, and I would also add to that, like that's great on kind of what our footprint is in our geo-specific areas. But to me, working for a Big Four when I was their age, it's the size and the scale of the clients that you want to serve. And so maybe that's what I would ask them. Like, do you want to go and serve a client that is smaller, or do you want to serve like, the top 50 companies within the United States? And I'll tell you, KPMG does both. We do both. Like Memphis is a huge mid-market practice, but you get back into our New Yorks and our Atlantas, I mean, they're doing large companies. And so I think that's another aspect of the Big Four that kind of separates themselves from what I would consider some of the regional or even national firms. But that's what I think Big Four does more of.
Sure. That makes sense. I think both of those things help me get it in my mind a little bit more. So lots of locations. So definitely opportunities to go where you move around or go to different areas, but also the scale of the clients that you serve. So large corporations. Sounds good. Yeah, that makes total sense. Thanks for answering that for us.
Mhm.
So what advice do you have for students who are maybe job or internship searching during this time? Everything has gone virtual for our students. So do you have any advice for them?
I would say it is strange going through it, but just kind of recognizing that it's strange on both sides, and not letting that kind of get in the way of doing it anyway. I know even since I've been working remotely since March, it's so much easier now than it was a few months ago to just jump on a video call with someone. So keep reaching out and doing that. In some ways, I think it's made the recruiting or some of the events that we've had at UT almost a little more personal, because you can have that one-on-one connection just because you need to schedule it and both be in front of your computers, versus a job fair and there's kind of clumps of people and you're trying to find who to talk to. It's a little more intentional. So definitely taking advantage of that. And really, in general, for recruiting, the more types of events you can do, the better. You get more comfortable doing them, which makes it easier, especially in an interview. I think people give better interviews when they're relaxed, or maybe even when they've met that person before through some other recruiting event.
Yeah, that makes sense. Practice makes perfect. Not to be cliche.
I would encourage the students as well, as you're going through these job fairs, and say you want to go to a non-traditional city. So maybe you want to go to Memphis instead of Nashville, where we kind of funnel our students. This is the best environment to be able to reach out and get to know some Memphis employees without having the 6-hour difference or 6-hour commute in your way. And so, I'd encourage them to just ask. I mean, we're all willing to get on the phone and get to know our candidates more. So just make that ask, because in this virtual environment, it really kind of opens some doors for us as well.
Yeah, I like that. Definitely, there are pros to it, like you both mentioned. I think sometimes that convenience factor makes people who maybe were previously not as accessible more accessible to get to know. Absolutely. So I know that KPMG has been working with UT for many years and hiring many of our students. So as one UT alum and one non-UT alum that is living in Big Orange Country, why do you like hiring UT Vols?
I mean, for me, this is my alma mater. Like, there was a lot of people that poured a lot of faith in me at UT. And so I kind of want to give back to those students. I know the curriculum that they've come through. I understand the caliber of the student that's coming out of UT. And so it excites me to see strong candidates coming out of the school, and it makes us want to place them very quickly into the offices that have needs. So please continue to come on to the recruiting for KPMG, and we're excited to have you here.
Thanks. David, what about you? So I know you're a little bit newer here.
Yes, but I do appreciate Tennessee's been my new kind of adopted home for recruiting. I do enjoy it, and even if I'm not making the drive to Knoxville, at least virtually, our UT group in Nashville, at least in the tax group I'm in, is where most of our practice comes from. And now that I've had a few years to recruit there and gotten to know the school a little better, I'm also seeing some people that were at that first recruiting event, and now they're going to be our new hires in January. And so I love kind of building that pipeline. And I know this is SEC football country too. So there's a lot of SEC pride in our office, and it's nice to be on the UT side and keep bringing more and more people in.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I like, so you mentioned that you start seeing students as they are earlier in their careers, right? And then they're about to graduate. So definitely important to get started early, making those connections, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I have a little, I guess I have a question that maybe I didn't prepare you for, but I'm curious. What's your favorite thing about your job? And you can, one of you can answer that question. And then the other question is, what is the biggest, I guess, like misconception people have about accounting? Just for fun.
Okay. Which one do you want me to take, David?
I think I have an answer for the misconception, if you
Okay.
want to take that.
All right, perfect. So just to make sure, the question is why do I?
Yeah, why do you like your job? What's your favorite thing about it?
So what I tell people, it's just started my 16th year. Public accounting is a very fast-paced career, but I tell you the reason I like my job is I don't do the same thing every day. So there's not been one day that looks the exact same as the other. And so I'm challenged every day, even after 16 years. You know, I take a lot of pride in being able to teach others on my team because it's a teaching environment throughout the whole process. And so those two things just continue to excite me on a day-to-day basis. And, you know, I never get into that kind of rut of go do this again kind of attitude. So it's, you know, it's a very rewarding career, both from a, you know, professional and from a teaching standpoint, because you really get to raise up your colleagues through the firm. And so it's very nice to be able to do that.
That's great. I like that fast pace. There's a lot of students that are really looking for that in a career. Absolutely. All right, David, what's the biggest misconception?
Part of that kind of feeds into it in that, you know, it's boring. They're doing something in a cubicle by yourself all day. And I mean, it really couldn't be further from the truth than that. Not just the doing every day, but the people that you're working with in tax or on an audit team, you're going to be learning from the other people on your team. Especially, you know, in accounting and in the job, you're not learning from a textbook anymore. You're learning from the people around you. And I know sometimes if I think back to my college days, like the team project, sometimes you kind of roll your eyes like, how's this going to go? Am I going to have to, you know, carry more weight? And it's like a team project, but everyone is motivated and going the same direction. So that totally changes that dynamic. And just like Ruby said, then you're always learning something new. It's not boring.
That's great. Everyone's the high achiever on the team. So there's no one that you have to, like, sometimes every once in a while in those school group projects, you have to carry a little more than your weight, right? Yeah, no, those are great answers. So just to kind of recap, students that are interested in accounting students that are interested in internships and jobs with KPMG should definitely check out Handshake and get plugged in with the Center for Career Development and Academic Exploration and the accounting department at the Haslam College of Business, because there are lots of different events and opportunities to meet you all and connect at an early stage in their academic career, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Ruby and David, do you have any parting advice or thoughts for our UT students or alumni?
I mean, I would just say, you know, continue to be excited about, you know, this environment. I know going to school in COVID is not fun, but continue to just keep positive on that. Continue to come to as many recruiting events, like David said, as you can, so that we can get to know you. It's all about us understanding if you're going to fit our culture and you understand you wanting to come to KPMG. So getting to know each other on both sides. And I guess I'll just end it with go Vols this weekend. So yeah.
That's right. Go Vols this weekend. Sounds great. Well, thanks very much. And you'll have a great rest of your day.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.